So I think that the terrifying thing is that it feels like the process of getting through the day is something that literally everyone else has figured out. Because they manifestly do get through the day. You look at your parents, you're like, hey, they've gotten through a lot of days. You look at your friends, they're getting through their days. There's some people that we see and we go, wow, they're getting through their days, but it seems like it's getting rougher for them right now. But even then, it's rare to see that. But even still, they're still getting through their days. And so it feels like this is like the most intuitive skill. And to the point where it's not even a skill. It's just the sort of intuitive habit that we all sort of have and should be able to do. It's like breathing. And so then when we struggle, and when we lie down and we say, oh man, I can't keep doing this. I don't know what I'm doing. It feels not just frustrating, but embarrassingly so. Because this is something that clearly everyone else is doing. And this is more of this is, I guess, imposter syndrome writ large. I don't know. The challenge, I think, at least for me, and I don't know how universal this experience is, but I would imagine it's probably more universal than I imagine it to be. The challenge is not so much figuring out a structured system that works when things are going well. Because eventually, and it takes a lot of experimentation, but eventually you figure out, okay, if I don't drink enough water, if I don't get this many hours of sleep, if I work too many hours, if I forget to meditate, if I forget to exercise, if I eat terrible food, if any combination of things, there's some things that you have to do, there's some things that you have to avoid, there's some things where it's a bit of a spectrum, and there is some sort of combination of those things such that if you meet those thresholds, you can sustainably get through the day. You can lie down, you can go, okay, it's working. And you can just repeat that day to day. Now, that's not entirely true, and it takes a long time to figure that stuff out, too, because usually when you have a bad day, it's never one thing that went wrong. It's usually a combination of things. And so it takes you a while to figure out. But for me, the system of, okay, I give myself a list of things, and that's, drinking water and meditating and not doing certain things and trying to monitor where I'm spending my time and trying to do all these things. It takes a while, but you can get that to work. And it works pretty well when things are going well. And it works even pretty well when things aren't going well, because then you go, having a terrible day. I don't feel like doing anything. But I have a system that I know in the past has been important for me to follow. So I'm going to go do the things that I don't feel like doing because they're just habitual things that I'm supposed to do. Habit is a wonderful way to get through mediocre days. And systems like this are even good at handling blips. You have a day where you're traveling, or it's just a terrible day, or there's some crisis or something, and you don't get your things done. You don't meet your bare minimum for kind of mental and physical wellness, and you get up the next day and you go, ugh, I don't feel good. That's not great. I better make sure today I do the stuff. So it's sort of self-correcting in that way. But where it all comes crashing down is the longer blips, the bloops. I don't know. The bloops. And how do you develop a system that is bloop tolerant? Because I don't know. And I know that it's very hard to spin yourself back up on something after it's been a while. And I think that's probably the most critical part, right? Because generally, if you're trying to develop a system for running your life in a sustainable way, at the time that you're designing it, the excitement of the system, whether it's I'm going to start bullet journaling or whatever the heck it is, the excitement of starting that thing is great. And it's probably enough to ramp you up to the point of habituation. So the first time you get for free, starting a habit isn't easy, but it's easier than restarting a habit. Because restarting a habit, you know what you're getting into. You're not looking to be surprised. You're not looking to go, oh man, I wonder what it's going to be like 2 weeks from now. Because you know, you have memories. It's going to be a little bit different, but you vaguely know. There's not the sense of anticipation. And so I think it's the most critical part. And it's embarrassing because this isn't a matter of developing some specialized skill. This is just a question of how do we get through our days with a modicum of physical health and mental happiness, which seems like it shouldn't be too much to ask. And so then I think it gets, that sort of reflects back and makes us feel worse about it. Because it's supposed to be, it's something that we feel almost entitled to. You know, it's the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, right? And I don't know what the solution is, but it's frustrating. I think for me, generally what it has been, the solution that's not really something that is part of a plan or something that I even really endorse as a good strategy. Just the strategy that I tend to go with is operating in sort of a low power version of where I had been. So if I have, this kind of this master list of here's the 30-step checklist for having a decent day, I try and just stick to like 4 of those items and then just wait. And then if I discover I have excess energy, I sort of start to maybe add a couple in. But a lot of times I don't get back up to full power before there's another event. And so it makes me wonder, maybe the critical thing is to never, ever, ever get derailed for more than a very short period of time. Like never go 2 days. But that's not, I don't know if that's sustainable. Because life happens, right? Work deadlines happen or family things happen or whatever. And there are times where you have to drop what it is you're doing and try something else for a while. So I don't know what the solution is. And it's weird and it's tricky and it's challenging. And I don't know why I'm really making this video, but I felt like making the video. So, I mean, I guess that's self-evidently the reason.